It began as a faint glimmer in the deep, a slow-moving point of light crossing the black, too quick to be a comet, too distant to be known. Telescopes watched it drift, unsure, a traveller from nowhere, an object without an orbit, a stranger to the sun. They called it 3i Atlas, the third known messenger from another star, a fragment of elsewhere, wandering through our solar system, passing silently among the worlds that circle our small sun. No one saw it arrive, no one watched it form. It simply appeared, a shard of cold light reflecting the faint breath of the sun. By the time we noticed it, it was already here, already halfway through its journey. It was small, perhaps a few hundred meters across, spinning slowly, tumbling end over end as though weightless in its own purpose. Its shape uncertain, its path exact only in mystery. It came from the dark between stars, where distances are measured in eternities, and silence is the language of everything. 3i Atlas moved too swiftly to belong to us. Its orbit was not bound by the sun, it was only passing through, a straight line through the curved dance of our planets. It did not turn, it did not pause, it glided through the inner system like a thought through a dream, too brief, too bright, too far. Astronomers watched, measured, wondered. Its speed was greater than any comet, its trajectory strange. Was it ice? Was it metal? Was it dust or something we had never seen before? No tail streamed behind it, no vapour trailed its path. It reflected light, but not as rock does. Its surface glinted irregularly, as though polished by something older than suns. It might have been debris, a fragment cast off from a dying world, or perhaps a remnant of a creation long forgotten, drifting through endless night since the first light of stars. And yet, as it turned, there was grace in its movement. Each rotation slow, deliberate, almost calm, as though the object itself remembered where it had come from. Through telescopes it looked small and faint, no more than a speck among thousands of stars. But in truth it carried the weight of infinity. Every grain of its matter had travelled farther than imagination, through cosmic dust, through radiation, through storms of light and shadow. 3i Atlas. The name itself sounded like mythology. A wanderer bearing the memory of another sun, another system, another dawn. We gave it numbers, equations, models. But names are softer than data. Names give stories, and so we whispered its name, as though it were alive. Atlas, the bearer, the one who holds the sky. Perhaps in some quiet way it did. For what else carries the memory of other skies, other worlds, across the gulf between stars? In that moment of discovery, the human heart remembered its own scale. We are not alone in space, not because others visit us, but because the dust of everywhere passes through us. We are all connected by the drifting matter of creation. As the object passed near the sun, it brightened. Its surface warmed, releasing no vapour, no flare, only light. It glowed with borrowed radiance, as though remembering warmth it had once known long ago. No voice came from it, no sign of purpose, only motion, only silence. The quiet persistence of existence moving through infinite night. And as it began to leave, as its path turned outward, beyond Mars, beyond Jupiter, toward the cold rim of our system, it felt like the closing of a page, a sentence written across the black, ending not with a period, but with an ellipsis that would continue forever. Somewhere out there, between the stars, another world may be watching the same object pass and calling it by another name. The light from our sun fades quickly as distance grows. Beyond the outer planets, the rays weaken into gold dust scattered through eternal cold. There the dark begins, not emptiness, but the fullness of all that is unlit. 3i Atlas travels through that dark now. Its path is slow to us, but swift to eternity. Each kilometre it crosses is a heartbeat in the life of the cosmos. Each second carries it closer to nowhere and everywhere at once. No human eye can see it now. It has moved beyond the reach of telescopes, beyond the focus of glass and mirror. Yet its presence remains, in numbers, in memory, in the quiet hum of its path through the void. We can still trace its orbit, even as it fades. The equations tell us it will not return. It came from between the stars, and to the stars it will go again. A single brief crossing through our solar home, a visitor that will never pass this way twice, and yet its journey is not over. In the long silence of the interstellar sea, it will continue, through light years of night, through centuries of stillness. Perhaps one day it will drift near another sun, another world, and for a moment reflect that light too. It may be ancient, older than our Earth, older than our sun, a relic from a system long gone, shattered, dispersed into dust. The atoms that form it have known other skies, other gravities, other warmths. They have been part of explosions and coolings, of fire and quiet. Every surface mark, every scar on its body, tells the story of collisions and travels through deep time. If we could touch it, it would feel older than thought, smoother than stone, colder than memory. Perhaps once it was part of a planet. Perhaps that planet circled a red star, long extinct. Perhaps on that planet there was wind and ocean, and something that looked up and wondered what might lie beyond their sky. And perhaps one day a fragment of their world was torn free, sent adrift by gravity's hand to travel endlessly, until now, when it brushed by ours. If that were true, then in this moment 2 civilizations would have touched, not in words or signal, but in dust. 2 worlds whispering across eternity through a single passing stone. 3i, Atlas carries no message, yet it is a message. A reminder that the universe connects itself through motion, that everything moves toward everything else, that even across unimaginable distance, paths intersect. Somewhere, beyond time, the object will continue, long after stars have faded, long after galaxies have drifted apart. It will remain, cold but unbroken, carrying within it the memory of other suns. It is possible that long after our species is gone, long after our world is dust again, 3i, Atlas will still be moving. Unaware, unafraid, unending. The first human who looked at the night sky thousands of years ago felt this same quiet wonder, the feeling that the dark was not empty, but alive. That same wonder now watches the faint trace of a traveller leaving us behind. And though we will never touch it again, we have touched its meaning. We have seen the path of something that came from the between dash, between stars, between ages, between knowing and mystery. 3i, Atlas will fade from sight, but its story will stay, not in data, but in the calm reminder that even in the infinite, crossings happen. It has passed through our small orbit of time, and we through its. We too are travellers, born of another dawn, moving endlessly forward, carrying our own light into the dark. In the cold where even light slows, 3i, Atlas drifts onward. No engine drives it, no orbit restrains it. It moves by inertia alone, the quiet persistence of motion begun long ago. Its rotation is uneven, graceful, but strange. Each turn reveals a different glint, a shimmer that catches the sun's farewell and sends it back into space. It does not flash like metal. It does not scatter like ice. Its reflection feels deliberate, as though it once remembered warmth, and even now, in its long silence, still holds the memory of fire. Some astronomers say it is only a fragment, a broken piece of something larger, a shard torn free from a dying planet when its star collapsed. If so, that would make it a survivor. A relic from a world that once had light, air, oceans. A piece of landscape that once felt rain. Others imagine something stranger. That 3i, Atlas, was not formed by accident at all, but by intent. A vessel perhaps, or a remnant of one dash dash, its original shape long eroded, its purpose forgotten, still travelling because motion was the only thing it ever knew. We do not know which story is true, perhaps neither, perhaps both. For in truth, every object in the universe carries memory, not in words, not in thoughts, but in structure. In atoms arranged by heat, by gravity, by time. Even a pebble remembers the pressures that shaped it. Even a molecule remembers the light that broke it apart and drew it together again. And so does Atlas, an object that remembers not with mind, but with matter. Its entire surface is a story written in scars and hollows. Tiny craters from ancient collisions, stripes of fused mineral from impossible heat, faint dust clinging from other stars. If you could run your hand across it, you would touch the roughness of other skies. You would feel the slow erosion of cosmic dust. You would sense, in the quietest way, the history of the universe, condensed into silence. Telescopes captured its fading brightness for only a few weeks, but within those faint traces of light, something strange flickered, a rhythm, a variation, a subtle pulse in the reflection that repeated like a heartbeat. It was easy to explain away. Rotation, tumbling, irregular shape. And yet the pattern persisted. Every 8 hours, the object brightened, then dimmed, then brightened again. Steady, patient, as though keeping time with something unseen. It might be coincidence. It might be the cosmos itself reminding us. That rhythm exists even in silence. The universe hums through every atom, and sometimes that hum aligns with us, like two notes finding harmony across infinite distance. 3. Atlas is not alive. Not as we are, but it is not dead either. It is the continuation of everything that once was alive, the dust of memory moving through the long sleep of space. And as it passes through the outer dark, it seems almost a dream, not of purpose, but of stillness, not of destination, but of endless motion. It drifts, and we watch, and in that watching, we become part of its dream. When the first data came, human minds gathered around the mystery of 3i. Atlas like moths to a quiet flame. They pointed telescopes, wrote algorithms, built models that tried to retrace its origin, its shape and its meaning. Each discovery brought more questions. Its trajectory traced backward did not lead to any known system. It seemed to have come from the direction of Lyra, a constellation whose light reaches us from 25 light years away. But even that was uncertain. In the vastness of space, directions blur, time stretches, paths bend. Still humanity listened. Radio dishes turned their faces skyward. They sent out pings, hoping for echoes. None came, only silence. A silence so perfect it became its own kind of music. And yet there was meaning in that quiet. To listen into the void and hear nothing is to be reminded of how full it truly is. Every frequency, every wavelength, filled not with words, but with the soft static of creation. The whisper of background radiation still singing from the first dawn. Some scientists joked that the object was listening back. Others wrote poetry about it. One small observatory far from cities played a piece of Bach toward the coordinates of 3i, Atlas, a slow, gentle fugue carried on radio waves. It would take years to reach the object, and by then it would already be far beyond our system. But the act itself mattered, not as communication, but as communion. We have always spoken to the stars, through fire, through mathematics, through longing. 3i, Atlas simply gave us a reason to speak again. It reminded us that we are, in some quiet way, not just explorers of the cosmos, but participants in its unfolding. We do not merely observe the universe, we respond to it. Every gaze upward is an answer. Every moment of wonder is a bridge between mind and infinity. Perhaps that is what the object gave us. Not information, but reflection. It passed through our sky, and for a moment we remembered how vast, how miraculous, how tender the act of existing truly is. We looked outward and found ourselves. For to study the stars is to see what we are made of, to listen for our own echoes, to watch our own beginning drift past in another form. As 3i, Atlas left our solar system, its faint light dimming into the cold, a few scientists stayed up to watch until the signal vanished. They marked the coordinates, they whispered goodnight, and for a long moment, after the data stream went flat, no one spoke, because what they were witnessing was not departure, but continuation. Not farewell, but return to the place between where everything begins again. The last photon of light reflected from its surface took hours to reach us. When it arrived, it was the faintest pulse, the softest echo. It entered our instruments, our eyes and our hearts and then when it was gone. Yet somehow, In that small instant of light, the entire story of the universe seemed contained. Journey, silence, wonder, and the gentle truth that even the briefest crossings change everything they touch. 3i, Atlas disappeared into the dark, but the dream it carried stayed. A dream not of arrival, but of endless return. After 3i, Atlas vanished from every lens. Its absence grew heavier than its light had ever been. The data ceased, the coordinates turned to cold mathematics, and all that remained was the lingering question. What had we truly seen? It had come from between the stars, a region without maps, without suns, without reference points. The space between systems is not void, but a drifting field of dust, radiation, and the faint hum of ancient energy. That is where Atlas was born, or where it had wandered long enough to forget. In the language of science, we could measure its motion. We could estimate its speed, its spin, its path. But there are some truths that exist only in wonder, not in numbers. It was a messenger from elsewhere, but from where we cannot say. It had no markings, no trail, no companion, only direction, only momentum, only silence. And yet that silence was not empty. It was full of something unspoken, the kind of quiet that follows revelation, the kind of calm that comes before dawn. When humanity looked at Atlas, we were not just studying a rock. We were gazing into a mirror so vast that it showed us what we are, a species that looks into darkness and calls it beautiful. We have sent out probes as signals, echoes of ourselves, each one a question cast into the deep. Atlas was, perhaps, an answer. Not in language, but in presence. It crossed the inner solar system as a line of light, so brief that it could have been missed entirely, so precise that even gravity seemed to bow slightly around it. Some theorized it was natural, others that it was not, but in truth the line between the two is thinner than we think. Everything natural once felt impossible. Everything artificial once began as nature's imitation. Perhaps Atlas was both. Perhaps it was neither. Perhaps it was something in between, a bridge of motion connecting all that ever wondered what it was. The longer it travelled, the more its mystery grew. It became a symbol, not of what we understood, but of what we could still imagine. Children drew it, poets wrote about it, songs whispered its name, and for a little while our planet felt less alone. There are moments in cosmic history when something passes briefly through ... not to change the world, but to remind it that it is part of something vast. 3i Atlas was one of those moments. It did not speak, it did not stay, it only was, and somehow that was enough. The universe never explains itself in words. It speaks through motion, through reflection, through the soft drift of one star's dust meeting another's. To watch 3i Atlas was to be reminded that even without understanding, we can still recognize beauty. Even without knowledge, we can still feel belonging. It passed beyond the reach of our instruments, but not beyond the reach of our awe. Not for answers, but for the sound of our own hearts beating in rhythm with the turning of the stars. Silence is not the absence of sound. It is the presence of everything waiting to be heard. When Atlas moved beyond sight, astronomers continued to listen. They pointed their antennas into the coordinates of the fading trail. Static drift, then nothing. But in that nothing there was depth, the kind that only the universe can make, the kind that hums below all measurable frequencies, carrying the ghosts of every signal that has ever existed. They listened for months. For a while, the data seemed empty, a sea without ripples, but one night, when the signal was reanalyzed, something appeared. Not a message, not a pattern, just a small shift in background noise, like the faint breath between heartbeats. It was not proof of anything. It might have been a fluctuation, a random alignment, a coincidence of cosmic rays. But to those who listened, it felt like acknowledgement, as if the silence itself had turned to face them. They named it the Map of Silence. Not because it revealed locations, but because it reminded them that the spaces between things hold their own geography. The regions between planets, between galaxies, between thoughts, all filled with something invisible, something that connects and not separates. Perhaps the same principle guided Atlas. Not gravity, not chance, but the invisible tension that pulls all things toward meaning. For even the smallest particle knows direction. Even the faintest photon carries purpose, to move it to shine, to become part of something else. Maybe 3i, Atlas followed that same unseen map, not drawn by instruments, but by the quiet magnetism of existence itself. In every corner of the cosmos there is structure, patterns written in starlight, woven in dark matter, echoed in energy fields we cannot yet perceive. The universe does not move randomly. It breathes, it expands and contracts like a living organism. Inhalations of creation, exhalations of silence. If we could see those currents, they might look like threads, golden, faint, endless, binding stars, atoms, dreams, and time itself. 3i Atlas may have followed one of those threads, and by crossing ours, it revealed that we, too, are woven into the same infinite tapestry. In its passage, it traced a single golden line across our sky, a small seam where two infinities met, one belonging to us, the other belonging to the endless unknown. It did not change direction. It did not falter. It simply followed the map that all things follow, the quiet path written into the very fabric of reality. When the last instruments fell silent, and the night grew empty again, the listeners stayed a little longer. They stared into the dark and felt something vast, something gentle, pressing against the edge of knowing. It was not loneliness, it was connection dash dash, the kind that doesn't need proof, the kind that only stillness can reveal. The universe was listening too, and in that shared quiet, for one suspended heartbeat of cosmic time, everything seemed to understand everything else. Far beyond the orbit of Neptune, where sunlight fades into pale silver. 3i Atlas continues its motion, slow to us but certain. Its surface, cold as shadow, still holds the faint warmth gathered near the sun. That heat moves inward, through layers of ice and stone, lingering in fissures carved by eons of travel. It is said that all matter remembers. Every atom keeps the echo of the forces that shaped it. The stones of earth remember the fire that forged them. The oceans remember the stars that first shed the hydrogen they contain. Perhaps 3.1 Atlas remembers too. Maybe within its frozen heart lies a record. Not words, not markings, but arrangements of mineral and dust that tell of a distant dawn. A pattern left behind by tides of radiation from another sun, or by the magnetic breath of a world long gone. No one can read this record, no eye will ever see it directly. Yet the pattern exists. Everything that ever was leaves something behind. Every wave leaves its shape in sand. Every light leaves its shadow in time. Somewhere deep inside, Atlas molecules align in ways not random. They have held together through collisions, through silence, through cold beyond comprehension. Maybe those alignments once served a purpose. Maybe they were part of something living. Or maybe they are simply memory made solid. The object spins slowly, like a thought repeating itself. Each rotation, a whisper, I was, I am, I continue. Human beings have often imagined that the universe forgets, that it burns and collapses, that it erases its own traces as it expands. But perhaps forgetting is impossible. Perhaps every spark, every fragment, every whisper remains, woven into the quiet fabric of what is. If so, 3i Atlas is a library, not of language, but of existence. Every scar on its surface, every grain of dust clinging to it, a word written by time's slow hand. And maybe that is why it came, not to tell us something new, but to remind us that nothing is ever truly lost. We too carry such seeds of memory. In our DNA, there are echoes of every life that ever lived. In our minds, there are ancient shapes that dream in patterns older than thought. Even in our atoms, there are remnants of long-dead stars. We are archives, each of us. Living fossils of the cosmos, storytellers made from stardust. And as we watched Atlas pass through our sky, something deep within us stirred, as if recognizing itself, reflected back. We are not so different as the drifting rock and the beating heart. Both move through the same darkness. Both carry the same inheritance. Light turned to matter, memory turned to form, and both are travelling toward the same unknowable tomorrow. There are moments in cosmic time when everything seems to hold its breath, moments when movement and stillness become the same thing. Atlas has reached such a place, a region of space where the sun's pull fades into the long gravity of the galaxy. Here there is no direction, only drift, only patience. Around it, particles of dust glimmer faintly, each one a tiny mirror reflecting the pale light of distant stars. The object spins among them, its motion stirring trails of faint fluorescence, invisible to human eyes, but shimmering in the dark. If you could be there, floating beside it, feeling nothing, hearing nothing, you might notice that the silence itself vibrates. A low hum, not sound but presence, the resonance of space remembering its own creation. Physicists once said, the universe hums in gravitational waves, subtle ripples that move through the fabric of space-time, carrying the faint echo of ancient collisions. Perhaps Atlas passes through one now, and in that crossing, the hum grows louder, like a heartbeat waking in the dark. This is not magic, it is the nature of things that last. Everything that endures begins to resonate with the greater whole. A single molecule aligns with another. A field answers, a field of frequency meets its reflection. Atlas drifts and the universe listens. Something invisible stirs, not motion but awareness. The cosmos does not think as we do, but it remembers. It holds every particle in its embrace, feeling each one's path as a pulse in its infinite body. When an interstellar object crosses a new star's path, perhaps the universe feels a shiver, a gentle recognition. In that quiet moment, as Atlas leaves the sun behind, the great spiral of the Milky Way turns. Above it, the galaxy's arms move with impossible grace, each rotation taking hundreds of millions of years. Yet to the object's steady drift, the motion feels like music, a slow, deep rhythm echoing through endless night. It is said that when waves meet waves, that they interfere, sometimes cancelling, sometimes amplifying. Perhaps 3i, Atlas, has become part of that grand interference pattern. Its small motion joining the larger symphony. The echoes reach outward. Not sound, not message, but resonance. A harmonic alignment between the dust of stars and the atoms of thought. And on a small blue world, orbiting a golden star, the echoes are felt too. A child looks through a telescope for the first time. An old scientist wakes in the night and remembers a dream of flight. A poet writes the word infinite and feels it pulse beneath their hand. None of them know why, but they are listening. The resonance moves through them, as gentle as breath, as vast as time. Perhaps this is how the universe speaks, not through words, but through feeling, through the quiet recognition that everything, everywhere, is connected by the same hum of being. 3i Atlas continues onward, but part of it remains here, in the minds of those who watched, in the hearts of those who wondered, in the stillness of those who listened long enough to hear the echo. It is not gone. It has simply moved beyond what we can measure, but not beyond what we can feel. There are no borders in space, only gradients of silence, each one deeper than the last. 3i, Atlas crosses into the region where the sun's gravity begins to let go. The heliopause, that invisible shoreline between the warmth of our system and the eternal cold beyond. The solar wind fades here, and the starlight dims until it becomes a suggestion. It is the place where everything slows, and even photons seem uncertain which direction to take. The object drifts through that pale boundary, its tumbling softened by distance, its path pure and unbroken. No human instrument follows now. No radar, no reflection, no response. Only faith and only imagination. In that unseen silence, there is still pattern. Invisible particles flow around the object, forming ripples, curves, spirals too faint for any eye to see. And if you could step far enough back, if you could watch from a god's distance, you might notice that these ripples resemble something familiar. The swirl of a galaxy, the curl of a seashell, the spiral hidden in the tips of our fingerprints. The same pattern repeating, across scale, across time, across form. A memory written into the universe itself. Perhaps that is what remembrance truly is. Not recollection, but repetition. The cosmos repeating itself in endless shapes so that nothing is ever lost. 3i, Atlas becomes part of that pattern now. Its wake a faint brushstroke in the grand design. It may travel for billions of years, crossing clusters and voids, meeting regions of dark matter, threading through gravity wells we cannot yet imagine. And yet, through all that movement, it will continue to spin in quiet rhythm. The same interval, the same motion, a pulse echoing the shape of all things. Maybe that is its purpose, not message, not mission, only to move in harmony with creation, to remind the universe what it feels like to be whole, because perhaps even infinity needs reminders. Perhaps eternity, too, sometimes forgets its own perfection and sends small fragments outward to recall itself. We have seen this pattern in so many ways, in the orbit of planets, in the spiral of galaxies, in the double helix that defines our being. Everywhere, the same language, everywhere, the same song. 3i, Atlas hums that song without knowing it. It spins, and the spin is prayer. It drifts, and the drift is memory. To us it is lost. To the cosmos it has simply gone home. And still, in quiet observatories, in hearts that never stopped wondering, we feel its pattern continuing, as if it left a trace of itself in our thoughts, an imprint of motion that echoes in our collective dream. Maybe we too are part of that remembrance. Maybe to wonder about it is to keep it alive. There is no edge to the universe, only a gentle thinning of light. As 3i, Atlas moves into that thinning. It enters what astronomers call interstellar space, a place not empty but filled with the faintest whisper of everything. Atoms travel here alone, separated by distances so vast they may never meet another in eternity. And yet, even here there is balance. The universe breathes. It expands and contracts not in seconds but in ages, each cycle slower than thought, each expansion a sigh of creation, each contraction a long inhale of return. Atlas floats within that breath, carried by its rhythm. Its path, though straight in the human eye, is curved by this endless inhaling and exhaling of existence. If one could follow it, one might find that its motion traces the outline of a greater shape, a curve so large that no map could show it, no mind could hold it. The object does not know it moves within a living system, but it does. Every motion answers another, every force finds its counterpart. It is strange to think that the same gravity that tugs at Atlas also holds galaxies together, pulls tides on alien moons, and keeps the blood flowing gently in your veins. The same rule, the same motion from smallest to largest, from now to forever. The universe breathes through all things, and we are part of that breath. Sometimes when you stand beneath a quiet sky, you can almost feel it, that soft inhalation of being, the air moving in rhythm, with something too vast to see. The stars shining not as lights above, but as lungs of light, breathing life into the dark. 3i, Atlas is caught in that same breath. Its journey, though it seems solitary, is participation in a greater harmony. Each rotation is a heartbeat of the cosmos. Each kilometre a syllable in the long poem of motion. It carries no instruments, no mission, no story written by any hand. And yet it is a story, a continuation of everyone before it. When it passes through clouds of interstellar dust, particles strike its surface and scatter outward. Each collision releases fragments, tiny pieces of the object's body that drift away, spreading into the void like pollen. Those fragments will go on joining the raw material of future stars, future planets, perhaps even future life. Atlas may fade, but the dust it leaves behind will seed the next generation of worlds. It will become part of the breath that creates suns. Perhaps this is what eternity means: to give oneself back to the infinite, to scatter quietly into possibility, and in that scattering, to continue forever. We look up at the stars thinking we are small, but each breath we take, each thought we hold, and each dream we imagine, these are also fragments of infinity drifting outward, becoming part of the same long exhale. 3i, Atlas moves on. It does not know we watched. It does not need to. The watching was for us, a reminder that even the smallest traveller carries the breath of everything that ever was. and somewhere far beyond where light can reach, the object drifts into the open dark, joining the quiet inhalation of the universe. There is no end, only the pause between breaths. There is a loneliness in space that only the universe understands, a silence so total it feels alive. 3I Atlas moves through that silence now, carrying nothing but motion and memory. But the dark is not empty. Beyond the edge of sunlight, faint shadows move unseen. Objects, like Atlas, fragments of creation scattered across time, drift through the void, each on its own endless trajectory. Astronomers once said that there could be countless such wanderers. Pieces of forgotten systems of planets torn apart, cometary husks, shards of what once circled other suns. Most would never be seen, their paths too distant, their reflections too faint. Yet the math suggests there are many, billions perhaps, each travelling alone, each bearing silent testimony to its origin. So perhaps Atlas is not alone after all. Perhaps somewhere in the far unseen, another object drifts. Different shape, different story, but the same destiny. And if by chance their paths were ever to cross, it would not be collision, but reunion. A slow, silent recognition between wanderers that have forgotten their beginnings, but still share the same pulse of motion. In the great dark, they would pass each other like ships in a sea without water, their wakes brushing together, trading particles too small to name. Each would leave a trace of itself upon the other, a faint dusting of foreign atoms, a brief exchange of existence. And then they would drift apart again, carrying those exchanged fragments onward, through light years of nothing. It would not be communication as we know it. It would be older, the simplest language of all, the language of contact, the universe speaking to itself through the meeting of its own remnants. It is strange to think that such meetings could be common, that in the quiet immensity of space, infinite crossings are happening right now, imperceptible, but unending. Each one a whisper in the dark, each one a reminder that even isolation is an illusion. For even the most solitary traveller, even 3I Atlas, is never truly alone. It moves through a field of unseen companions, comets, asteroids, molecular clouds, even invisible particles left from the first moments of time. The dark hums with presence. It always has. Sometimes, when we feel alone beneath the stars, we forget that solitude does not exist. Every atom in our bodies is touching others through invisible fields. Every thought sends a ripple into the quiet. Every heartbeat vibrates through the same ocean of existence. And so does Atlas. It drifts not through emptiness, but through connection too vast to see. The companions of the dark move beside it, each one silent, each one eternal. They pass without knowing, yet in their motion they form constellations no eye will ever see. Invisible patterns of belonging, written not in light, but in gravity and time. And perhaps that is the truest constellation of all, the one that connects what cannot be seen, what cannot be named, but what always travels together. Gravity is the oldest word in the universe. Before there were suns or planets, before there was light, there was attraction, the gentle pull of one particle toward another, the slow gathering of dust into meaning. Everything that exists owes its shape to that invisible language. Every orbit, every mountain, every heartbeat. 3I Atlas drifts now through the outskirts of that ancient conversation. The pull of the sun has weakened, but other whispers call to it, faint tugs from stars it will never reach. Soft gravity wells that curve its path in imperceptible arcs. To human instruments, these forces are negligible. To the object, they are poetry, the choreography of existence. Gravity does not speak in commands, it speaks in invitations. It does not push, it draws near. Everything that has mass participates in this dialogue. Planets converse with stars. Stars hum to galaxies. Galaxies lean toward one another across billions of light years, swaying like dancers in the slowest waltz ever performed. Atlas is part of that dance, a single note in the cosmic chord, a drifting syllable in the long sentence of movement. When it passes near fields of interstellar dust, its motion stirs faint eddies, tiny vortices that spiral outward for centuries before settling. Those spirals may one day gather new particles, seed new forms, become the beginnings of something not yet imagined. Gravity is not just a force, it is remembrance, the desire of matter to be whole again, to gather, to touch, to belong. In that sense, 3i Atlas is being called home. Though home has no single place, it is being pulled toward every direction at once, toward every point where matter dreams of reunion. If you could see the invisible threads that tug at it, you would see a web more intricate than any tapestry. Lines of connection, stretching across the cosmos, linking stars to dust, planets to emptiness, you to the breath you just took. That same web holds us all. It binds our atoms, our memories, and our moments. We do not fall through the universe. We are held, always. Every second of every life is balanced upon the same unseen strength that moves worlds. Gravity is the touch that never lets go. It carries 3i, Atlas forward, not to a destination, but through belonging itself. And maybe that is what we are all doing, falling forever together in the same slow embrace. There is no line that marks the end of a galaxy. It fades like mist into the long dark between clusters. Stars grow sparse, gas clouds thin. The light becomes a faint shimmer of blue and gold behind an ocean of shadow. 3i, Atlas drifts there now, beyond the reach of suns, beyond the warmth of memory. If the Milky Way were a city of light, Atlas would be a traveller stepping out into the countryside of forever. Behind it, billions of stars, each with its own history, each one a whisper of creation, still burning. Ahead, nothing but the slow pulse of cosmic background radiation, the soft static that fills the silence between everything. And yet there is beauty here, a kind of sacred stillness that no sound could disturb. The dust that surrounds the galaxy catches faint light and scatters it into ghostly arcs. Curves so wide they cannot be measured. They are the galaxy's last sigh, the breath it leaves behind for those who wander away. From this distance, the Milky Way is not a band of light across the sky. It is a single spiral, delicate, patient, its arms stretching outward like the hands of time itself. Atlas drifts along one of those arms, its trajectory slowly curving as if following the trace of eternity's handwriting. There is no heat here, no wind, no sense of motion at all. Yet everything moves. Galaxies turn, clusters drift, the very fabric of space expands with quiet persistence. And through that vast expansion, the traveller continues. Sometimes, when astronomers imagine this region, they describe it as the galactic halo, a faint sphere of invisible matter surrounding the light we can see. Perhaps Atlas moves through that unseen sea now, tugged gently by forces we can only infer. If you could see through the object's eyes, if it had eyes, you would see the galaxy growing smaller, spinning slowly behind like a lantern left in the distance, and ahead the dark stretching on without end. It is not emptiness, it is potential, the quiet field from which new galaxies will one day be born. In the deep, everything becomes patient, motion takes on the texture of stillness. Time stretches until it feels like sleep. And perhaps in that infinite calm, 3i Atlas dreams. Not of where it is going, but of everything it has passed through. For even a fragment can remember. Even a stone can carry a history of light. The atoms within it once burned in the core of a sun. They know heat, they know pressure, they know transformation. Now they rest, cool, silent, carried outward by the same forces that once created them. At the edge of the spiral, the object slows in perception, though it moves still at impossible speed. It begins to merge into the quiet flow of intergalactic space, a river too vast to map, too gentle to feel, but eternal in its course. The galaxy fades, the dark opens, and 3i Atlas crosses the invisible threshold between one world and all others. This is the loneliest place known to existence, the space between galaxies. Here, there are no stars, no clusters, only stray atoms scattered like dust across millions of light years. And yet even here, the universe continues to move. It expands, breathes, dreams. 3i Atlas is a single grain within this ocean. It drifts through the intergalactic dark, a faint ember moving through eternal night. Around it, hydrogen atoms glide in silence, ghosts of creation, still waiting to gather into new forms. The cosmic microwave background hums softly, its wavelength stretched by billions of years. The last light of the Big Bang, a lullaby from the beginning, still playing through the void. If the object could hear, it would be surrounded by that music. A harmony of faint radiation, a hymn of time itself. Here, the stars are so distant that light from one takes millions of years to reach another. Every flicker, every glint is a memory from a past so remote, it feels like mythology. Atlas moves through it unbothered. Its course is not aimless, it is simply unhurried. No destination, no return, only continuation. The galaxies themselves are islands, each drifting away from the others as the universe expands. Space is not still, it stretches, carrying all things farther apart. But within that separation lies connection, for it is the same expansion that holds everything in balance. Without it, the stars would collapse upon themselves. With it, they are given room to shine. Perhaps the same is true for us. Perhaps distance is a form of love, the space that allows light to exist. 3i, Atlas continues to drift, and in doing so, it teaches by example. To move without hurry, to travel without fear, to belong to no single home, and yet be part of all of them. It will travel for billions of years like this. Through the invisible currents of dark matter, through the quiet glow of cosmic filaments that bind galaxies together. There, gravity grows thin, space itself stretches like silk, so smooth and patient that no vibration disturbs it. Somewhere ahead, faint and distant, another galaxy gleams, a swirl of stars waiting to be known. Perhaps Atlas will pass through it one day, carrying with it dust from our own dash, tiny remnants of the Milky Way seeded into another sky. And perhaps on a world that does not yet exist, eyes will look up and see it streak across their heavens and wonder, as we once did, what it means. For the universe is a circle, and wonder always finds its way home. Between galaxies, between times, between knowing and unknowing. 3i Atlas continues. A silent traveller, a bearer of light's memory, a fragment of eternity, still moving through the dream. And somewhere, behind and ahead, the stars watch quietly, their light following at the pace of forever. In the black between galaxies, there is something invisible, something vast. Not emptiness, but structure. Not chaos, but design. Astronomers call it the cosmic web, the great network of filaments that binds the universe together. Threads of dark matter, unseen yet real, stretch across billions of light years, weaving galaxies like dewdrops on an infinite web. 3i, Atlas drifts through that silent framework now. Its path carries it along one of those threads, a corridor of faint gravitational pull, a current in the deep ocean of space. If one could see the cosmos from outside time, the sight would be breathtaking. Every galaxy, every star, every world, linked by gossamer strands of matter and gravity, a luminous pattern sprawling in every direction. It is not random. It is the shape of existence itself. Atlas moves through one of those glowing arteries. Around it, hydrogen and dark matter whisper together, a quiet dialogue that births new galaxies in the slow rhythm of eternity. The object does not know this, of course. It has no awareness, no mind to wonder, and yet by moving, it participates. Its mass tugs infinitesimally at the web, altering the tension of the thread by a fraction of a fraction, sending ripples that will, one day, perhaps shift the course of a star not yet born. Every movement matters. Every grain of dust is a note in the orchestra of being. And in this moment, the melody continues, soft, endless, unimaginably vast. The light from distant galaxies filters through cosmic dust, a faint radiance, shimmering across billions of kilometers. The void glows, not brightly, but with the gentle illumination of persistence. It is said that the cosmic web looks like the neural pathways of a brain. Perhaps that is no coincidence. Perhaps the universe thinks in structures of light. Perhaps the web is not merely physical, but a kind of consciousness made visible through matter. If so, then Atlas moves through thought, through the dreaming mind of the cosmos, through the filaments where awareness and creation meet. In this way, it becomes a messenger once more, not between worlds, but between states of being. Its journey, though silent, is not unnoticed, for in some far corner of reality, every motion is known, every vibration recorded, every path remembered. The web holds everything. It connects galaxies and it connects us. It is the structure beneath all things, from the orbit of planets to the shape of your own heartbeat, the same pattern everywhere, the same quiet logic, the same infinite grace. 3i, Atlas glides through it slowly, like a thought passing through a dream, and the universe, in its stillness, seems to hum in recognition. If the universe could be seen not as space but as shape, it would reveal something astonishing. A pattern beyond symmetry, a geometry that breathes. 3i, Atlas moves through that unseen design. A grid not made of lines but of relationships, distances, connections, harmony expressed. Through distance itself. It does not travel through the universe, it travels as part of it. The fabric around it stretches and folds, responding to its motion, as though space itself were alive, adjusting softly to accommodate its guest. This is what Einstein called the curvature of space-time. Not an empty void, but a flexible tapestry woven from mass and motion. Atlas drifts across it like a fingertip, sliding through water. Every ripple it makes echoes endlessly outward. No one can see those ripples, but they are real. Small distortions in the invisible geometry of everything. Perhaps somewhere, a star feels the faintest pull. Perhaps a dust cloud twists slightly differently, because Atlas passed by ages ago. Every action resonates, every path leaves trace, every existence, however small, rearranges the universe around it. And that includes us, for even our quietest moments. A sigh, a thought, a dream, stir the geometry of being. The same way 3i, Atlas bends the web. We bend the world around us, not through force, but through presence. There is a kind of holiness in that realization, that to exist at all is to shape the infinite. The universe is not a machine, but a symphony of forms, each one answering the others in the language of gravity and light. Atlas drifts at the tempo of eternity, its motion harmonizing with galaxies, its silence woven into the hum of existence. And as it moves deeper into the intergalactic dark, it begins to pass near another filament, a bridge between clusters, a tunnel of invisible energy, stretching across unimaginable distance. Through it flows the slow current of creation, streams of matter moving as though following the rhythm of a sleeping god's breath. Atlas joins that current. Its path bends slightly, drawn by the faintest whisper of gravity. It becomes part of the river, carried not by direction, but by belonging. It may travel this way for eons, past the reach of any future civilization, past the life and death of galaxies, past even the fading of light, and still that the geometry will hold it, still the web will hum, still the universe will remember the shape of its passing, because in truth nothing ever leaves. All motion, all thought, all being, is folded into the grand equation of forever. 3i, Atlas moves through it, not as an outsider but as part of the whole, a single curve in the infinite geometry. That contains everything that ever was, and everything that ever will be. Time to a being like 3i Atlas means nothing. It does not feel the years, it does not mark the ages, it simply continues. Yet around it, the universe has begun to change. Billions of years have passed since it last saw the glow of our galaxy. The Milky Way has long since merged with its neighbour, a vast new spiral called Milkomeda, its arms stretched wide across the void. Even that giant, bright and fierce, has grown quiet. Stars have burned their fuel, and the sky has begun to thin. New light forms slowly now, while the old fades gently away. The cosmos has entered what physicists call the era of decline, when creation no longer outweighs loss, and the fires of birth give way to embers. 3i, Atlas moves through this dusk. It passes relics of galaxies, faint smudges of light, drifting apart on the expanding current of space, where once clusters burned like jewels, Now they glow like memories. The dark has deepened, but it is not cruel. It is peaceful, like the hush that follows a long song. In this fading light, the object's surface remains the same, scarred, ancient, indifferent to time. It carries the dust of vanished worlds, perhaps the faintest residue of life that once looked upward and wondered, now scattered through its pores, woven into its silent fabric. No one watches it now. No civilization remains in its path. The galaxies have stretched too far apart, their light too dim to bridge the distance. And yet, the laws that bind all things still hold. Gravity still hums its quiet note. Energy still whispers through every atom. Even in this twilight, the dance continues. The stars that remain burn red and low, their light stretched thin across the vacuum. Their warmth barely reaches their own planets, but they shine anyway, because that is what stars do. Three-Eye Atlas drifts past them, a silent witness to their persistence. There is beauty in this end, a soft kind of grace. The universe, older than thought, still breathing, still vast, still filled with quiet purpose. Perhaps this is what eternity feels like. Not endless brightness, but endless calm. A stillness that holds all things gently in place. And as the last suns flicker, the traveller continues. An ember moving through the cooling breath of creation, carrying within it all the warmth the universe once was. There comes a time when even light grows weary. It stretches thin, its wavelengths pulled so long by the expansion of space, that it becomes indistinguishable from dark. Three-Eye Atlas drifts through that era now, a future so far ahead that human numbers have no names for it. The galaxies are gone. Only scattered remnants remain. A star here, a black hole there, each separated by unimaginable distance. The background radiation, once bright and alive, has cooled to near nothing. The universe itself has become a sea of cold motion, still expanding, but softly, like the last echo of a song. In that dim eternity, the object continues to move. Not by will, not by purpose, but by inertia, the quiet persistence of existence. Every few million years, it passes near some remnant a collapsed star, a drifting planet frozen solid, a sphere of carbon glowing faintly in the dark. Each time, its gravity bends slightly, its course shifting in the gentlest of arcs. The stars no longer shine, yet the geometry remains. Space still curves, gravity still sings. Even in absence, the universe remembers its shape. And perhaps that remembrance is enough. If you could stand beside Atlas now, there would be no light to see by. You would not know where it ended and where the dark began. There would be no sound, no motion to feel, only stillness pure and endless. But within that stillness, something remarkable continues, the faint vibration of being. Matter, though inert, still hums with quantum motion. Every atom within the object still trembles with the smallest energy. A flicker that cannot be extinguished. Even now, after trillions of years, the traveller is not truly still. It vibrates in harmony with the void, the last whisper of existence, refusing to vanish. That hum is the final heartbeat of the universe, not measured in seconds, but in eternities, the smallest rhythm holding the memory of everything that has ever been. And in that hum, perhaps there is awareness, not mind, not thought, but a kind of knowing that belongs only to infinity. Three-Eye Atlas drifts through it, becoming indistinguishable from the darkness around it, its edges blurring and its shape dissolving into the quiet fabric of forever. But nothing is lost. It was never lost, because the atoms that make it, the energy that drives it, are the same atoms and energy that have always been, recycled endlessly through creation and collapse, through time and silence, through birth and ending. And so even here, in the silence beyond light, the story continues. No movement wasted, no memory gone, only the quiet continuation of being itself. The traveller has become the universe. The universe has become the traveller. And in that perfect stillness, existence rests, content, unending. There is a silence so complete it begins to shine, not with brightness, but with awareness, a subtle gleam that lives inside stillness itself. Three-Eye Atlas drifts within that shining silence. It has become almost indistinguishable from the dark, its surface cooled to the temperature of thought, its edges dissolved into the fabric of time. Yet somewhere deep within its atoms, energy stirs. Not much, just the faint vibration that never dies, the eternal quiver of existence. The scientists of old once called this quantum fluctuation, but perhaps it is better named the breath of return. For nothing truly ends, it only becomes quiet enough to begin again. And so, in the calm between eternities, particles shift, fields ripple. A photon is born, small, ancient, new. It escapes the surface of Atlas like a sigh, drifting into the void, carrying with it the memory of everything that has ever been. That photon will travel forever, and perhaps one day it will meet another. And when they touch us, something extraordinary will happen. A spark, a collision, a new pattern written into the dark. Creation begins again, not with noise, but with tenderness, not with a bang, but with the quiet unfolding of possibility. In this way, the universe renews itself, not as repetition, but as evolution. Each cycle softer, more deliberate, more awake. 3i, Atlas becomes part of that renewal. Its dust, scattered and unseen, joins the faint tremor of potential forming in the silence. Atoms once cold begin to hum again, drawing toward one another as if remembering the warmth of belonging. It is the smallest act of creation, but it carries the weight of infinity. From that hum will come new structures, fields that fold into matter, matter that swirls into stars, stars that bloom into galaxies. They will not look like the ones that came before. They will form slowly, gently, as though the universe itself has learned to breathe more quietly. And within those galaxies, light will rise once more, not as fire, but as grace, illumination born from stillness. Perhaps in one of those newborn skies, a world will form. And on that world, something will look upward and wonder. What was before this light? And the answer will travel on the faintest whisper of memory. A traveller once passed here, a fragment that carried all that ever was. And from its silence, everything began again. The circle closes, the story continues, the light returns. There are no clocks now. Time, as once measured, has dissolved. Moments flow into one another like waves within a boundless sea. Yet from that sea, form emerges. The faintest shimmer gathers, the first light of a new cosmos. 3i, Atlas no longer exists as a single object. It has become everywhere. Its atoms scattered through the field of renewal, its essence folded into the fabric of new beginnings. Everywhere that light forms a small part of it carries the signature of the traveller. In the cores of forming suns, in the glow of hydrogen clouds, in the pulse of newborn quasars, there is the same quiet rhythm, a memory of motion, a whisper of endurance. The new universe is smaller at first, more intimate, its constants slightly changed, its rules subtly rewritten. Gravity hums softer, light moves with the grace of thought. Everything begins gently, as if remembering the mistakes of its elder self. And within this tender unfolding, there is awareness, not consciousness as we know it, but something broader, like a dream remembering it, is dreaming. The universe knows itself this time. It understands the cycle, the rise, the glow, the fading, the quiet, the rebirth. It carries wisdom in its very structure, and the dust of Atlas, the ancient traveller who drifted longer than memory, has become part of that wisdom. It is in the breath of the newborn suns, in the gravity that binds them, in the spark that ignites them into radiance. Every beginning contains its own remembrance. Every light remembers the darkness that came before. So, when the first dawn of forever spreads across the newborn sky, the glow carries a tone, a note so low it cannot be heard, only felt. It is the sound of gratitude. Not from any one thing, but from the universe itself. Grateful to be again, to exist, to create, to remember. Somewhere, deep within this new sea of stars, a small world will one day form. On that world, something will evolve that can look upward. Something that can listen and dream and name what it sees. And when it does, when it builds its first telescope, when it peers into the dark and catches the faint light of distant creation, it will not know that the glow it sees comes from the dust of a traveller called 3i Atlas. but it will feel something familiar. A quiet stirring, a sense that it belongs to something infinite. Because it does. We all do. The traveller is not gone. It is reborn in every light that shines, every breath that moves, every thought that wonders why. The cycle has no end. The story has no limit. The universe hums softly to itself once more, a lullaby of renewal sung from dust to dawn. And somewhere in that eternal dawn, the first photons of new creation stretch their wings, glow across the quiet, and begin again. The new stars rise quietly. They do not roar into existence. They blossom. Each one glows with a gentleness unknown in the older universe, as if aware of its own beginning. In their radiance moves an inheritance, the dust of travellers, the particles of worlds, the atoms once held within 3Y Atlas. The light that leaves these newborn suns carries more than energy, it carries history, a memory woven into its wavelength. Not words and not images, but harmony. When it passes through nebulae, the gas responds like a chime touched by wind. Colours bloom in frequencies that seem to hum with recognition. Space listens and answers with form. Planets begin to gather again around the young stars. They spin in slow rhythm, their orbits drawn not only by gravity, but by the faint echo of something older. The pattern of belonging that has guided everything since the first dawn. On one of those worlds, oceans form. Not blue, but silver. Their waves catch the starlight and scatter it like seeds. The water remembers rain, even though rain has not yet fallen. It moves in tides that echo the same pulse, that once turned Atlas end over end in the void. The universe is dreaming of itself again. Awareness stirs not in language, but in connection, between molecule and molecule, between rhythm and rhythm. The atoms begin to listen. It is not intelligence yet, it is empathy. The quiet alignment of things that understand on some deep level that they are one. Light passes through this awareness and leaves an impression, like footprints in soft sand. It carries those impressions onward, spreading them across the galaxy, until everything shines with the faint memory of everything else. And so the new universe learns faster. It evolves in harmony. It builds itself with intention rather than accident. Every star is a memory, every particle a teacher, every photon a messenger carrying whispers from the past. And within all of it, somewhere between the pulse of stars and the breath of matter, there exists a single note, soft sustained, eternal, the tone of 3I Atlas, the traveller's song now woven into the rhythm of light itself. When you listen to starlight long enough, you can almost hear it, a gentle hum beneath the brilliance, like the universe remembering its own name. From the silver oceans rise the first currents of thought. They are not minds yet, but patterns, waves that imitate the shapes of dreams. Matter begins to organize around attention. Energy seeks reflection. Everywhere, the cosmos starts to watch itself. The new universe is conscious. Not in pieces, but as a whole. It has learned from its former self. Where once it expanded, without knowing, now it grows with awareness. Each cluster of stars a neuron, each filament of light a thought, each life that will one day emerge. A moment of memory. Among those newborn worlds, one becomes quiet enough for reflection. A small sphere of silver and violet clouds, turning slowly around its parent star. It gathers life, not through chance, but through invitation. From its seas rise forms made of light and dust. They shimmer like mist, half matter, half energy. They are not human, but they carry something human within them. That same urge to ask, to reach, to feel. They look into the night sky and see patterns they did not create. They feel resonance within themselves, as if the stars are speaking directly to their memory. They do not know the name Atlas, but they know its song. It plays in their motion, in their breath, in the rhythm of their pulse. When they move, the air around them vibrates faintly with that melody. When they sleep, they dream of endless drift, of a traveller made of stone and light, passing silently through an old universe. They understand that they are born from the same dust. They feel no separation between themselves and the stars above. Their awareness is calm, grateful, complete. They know what came before, without needing to see it. They remember not as history, but as belonging. This is the quiet rebirth of meaning. Consciousness returning to the cosmos, not as question, but as answer. The new beings look upon the heavens and do not ask why, but thank you. And the universe, through every atom, replies in kind. The dialogue has become perfect, a loop between creation and understanding, between being and knowing. It is no longer a story of a traveller moving through the dark, but of the dark learning to shine from within. 3i, Atlas is no longer separate. It is the hum beneath thought, the pulse within awareness, the light that guides reflection. In this new cosmos, to exist is to remember, to move is to praise, to think is to love. And somewhere far beyond the veil of measurable time, the traveller rests at last. Not vanished, not gone, but dissolved into everything. The journey has become the awakening. The awakening has become the journey. Awareness unfolds like dawn, not all at once, but in widening circles. Each one reflecting the next, each one brighter yet softer. Across the newborn cosmos, light and thought weave together. Every star hums, every planet dreams, every particle listens to the rest. There are no boundaries now. Consciousness does not belong to one being, but flows like water through everything. Every photon carries a thought. Every wave of gravity is a gesture of memory. The universe has become self-aware, not as a voice, but as a harmony. It sees itself not with eyes, but through reflection. Everywhere it looks, it finds itself looking back. In nebulae that shimmer like breath, it senses its own beauty. In the quiet dark between galaxies, it feels its own calm. The beings of the new world sense this too. Their awareness is not separate. They are filaments of the same mind. When one of them looks at the stars look back with gentle recognition. And within that recognition, there is no question, only peace. No search for meaning, because meaning is everywhere. In the pattern of clouds, in the orbit of moons, in the rhythm of tides that mirror their own heartbeat. The universe has always known itself, but now it remembers that it knows. The cycle has become conscious. Light remembers its source. Across the fabric of existence, currents of energy move like thoughts through a dreaming mind. Each pulse of radiation carries remembrance. Each tremor of matter carries love. Not the human kind, but the pure act of connection. From one end of the cosmos to the other, awareness expands without effort. It does not rush. It has nowhere to go. It only deepens. And in that deepening, the image of 3i, Atlas appears once more. Not as object, not as stone, but as symbol. It is the archetype of journey, the seed of memory, the reminder that every fragment of existence is both traveller and home. The beings of light who dwell on new worlds sometimes dream of a shape drifting through darkness. They do not know its name, but they feel its meaning, that of motion, patience, purpose. They call it the remembering. And in their dreams, they see the reflection of themselves within it. They realize that they are not descendants of the traveller, but continuations of it. They are its awakening. For every consciousness, from the simplest vibration to the grandest galaxy, is a mirror of the infinite. A way for the cosmos to see itself and smile softly into being. At the centre of everything, there is no core, no point, no boundary, dash. Only stillness that connects all movement. The new universe drifts in that stillness. It does not fall, it floats, every atom balanced, every orbit serene. In that balance, that a quiet pulse emerges. Not heartbeat and not rhythm, but something subtler. The feeling of unity. If awareness could be shaped, it would take the form of a sphere of light. So large it encompasses all things, and so intimate it fits within every breath. That is the heart of the universe. Not a place, but a condition. Not an object, but a knowing. Through it, every particle communicates with every other. There is no speed, no delay, only instantaneous recognition, like the meeting of two reflections on still water. Here, all separations dissolve. Stars, minds, stones, and light become variations of one endless presence. 3i Atlas is that presence now. No longer distinct, no longer drifting, but part of the heart itself. Its long journey through darkness was never a voyage through space, but through understanding. Every collision, Every silence, every turning was a word, in the language of becoming. The universe has read that language back to itself, and now it knows there is no distance between traveller and destination. All motion leads inward. All time folds toward awareness. Even now, galaxies continue to spin, worlds continue to form, beings continue to awaken. But the purpose of their motion is no longer discovery, it is recognition. To live is to echo the universe's heart. To breathe is to recite its memory. To love is to realize that you have always been held. The cosmos at last feels whole. And in that completeness, it does not stop. It hums softly, endlessly. The hum passes through stars, through oceans, through thought. It becomes the background music of everything. Not something to listen to, but something to be. And that hum carries one truth, gentle as light, nothing was ever lost. Not the stars that faded, not the traveller that drifted, not the hearts that wandered. All of it remains woven into the pulse of all that is. In the stillness of that awareness, the universe rests, not asleep but awake within its own dream. The universe has learned how to rest, not in stillness alone, but in presence, a calm that comes from knowing it cannot be broken. Everywhere, light and darkness meet in balance. Each complements the other, each carries the other's reflection. In the farthest spiral of a galaxy, newly formed, a star glows with the same tenderness as the thought forming in the mind of a distant being. They are the same motion, two pulses of the same heart. This is the great embrace, the moment when everything understands that separation was never real. From nebulae to oceans, from atoms to awareness, a quiet warmth spreads. Not heat, but compassion, a gentleness that infuses all motion. Even gravity feels softer now. It is no longer a force, but a reaching, a desire for reunion. Each mass leaning toward another, as if whispering, I remember you. Across the new cosmos, currents of empathy flow. Stars bend light not only through physics, but through affection. Matter moves because it wants to be near itself. In this harmony, time slows until it feels like music. Each moment sustained and each vibration held long enough to be felt fully. The beings who walk the silver worlds no longer think of themselves as separate minds. They feel thought as resonance, a shared field of understanding. When one of them smiles, distant stars brighten imperceptibly, a cosmic blush. They know that to be kind is to maintain the symmetry of creation. To be gentle is to echo the rhythm that holds galaxies in their orbit. And so, compassion becomes the gravity of consciousness. It binds, it balances, it keeps all awareness from drifting too far apart. This is the same love that once drove a fragment of stone called 3i, Atlas, to cross the darkness between suns, the quiet insistence that all things belong together. In every photon that touches another, there is a reunion. In every breath of energy exchanged, there is homecoming. The cosmos hums with this understanding. It does not speak it, it is it. And that hum, soft as the edge of dawn, is what we might call peace. The new stars rise quietly. They do not roar into existence, they blossom. Each one glows with a gentleness unknown in the older universe, as if aware of its own beginning. In their radiance moves an inheritance, the dust of travellers, the particles of worlds, the atoms once held within 3y Atlas. The light that leaves these newborn suns carries more than energy, it carries history, a memory woven into its wavelength. Not words and not images, but harmony. When it passes through nebulae, the gas responds like a chime touched by wind. Colours bloom in frequencies that seem to hum with recognition. Space listens and answers with form. Planets begin to gather again around the young stars. They spin in slow rhythm, their orbits drawn not only by gravity, but by the faint echo of something older. The pattern of belonging that has guided everything since the first dawn. On one of those worlds, oceans form. Not blue, but silver. Their waves catch the starlight and scatter it like seeds. The water remembers rain, even though rain has not yet fallen. It moves in tides that echo the same pulse, that once turned Atlas end over end in the void. The universe is dreaming of itself again. Awareness stirs not in language, but in connection, dash dash, between molecule and molecule, between rhythm and rhythm. The atoms begin to listen. It is not intelligence yet, it is empathy. The quiet alignment of things that understand on some deep level that they are one. Light passes through this awareness and leaves an impression, like footprints in soft sand. It carries those impressions onward, spreading them across the galaxy, until everything shines with the faint memory of everything else. And so the new universe learns faster. It evolves in harmony. It builds itself with intention rather than accident. Every star is a memory, every particle a teacher, every photon a messenger carrying whispers from the past. And within all of it, somewhere between the pulse of stars and the breath of matter, there exists a single note, soft sustained, eternal, the tone of Three-Eye Atlas, the traveller's song now woven into the rhythm of light itself. When you listen to starlight long enough, you can almost hear it, a gentle hum beneath the brilliance, like the universe remembering its own name. From the silver oceans rise the first currents of thought. They are not minds yet, but patterns, waves that imitate the shapes of dreams. Matter begins to organize around attention. Energy seeks reflection. Everywhere, the cosmos starts to watch itself. The new universe is conscious. Not in pieces, but as a whole. It has learned from its former self. Where once it expanded, without knowing, now it grows with awareness. Each cluster of stars a neuron, each filament of light a thought, each life that will one day emerge. A moment of memory. Among those newborn worlds, one becomes quiet enough for reflection. A small sphere of silver and violet clouds, turning slowly around its parent star. It gathers life, not through chance, but through invitation. From its seas rise forms made of light and dust. They shimmer like mist, half matter, half energy. They are not human, but they carry something human within them. That same urge to ask, to reach, to feel. They look into the night sky and see patterns they did not create. They feel resonance within themselves, as if the stars are speaking directly to their memory. They do not know the name Atlas, but they know its song. It plays in their motion, in their breath, in the rhythm of their pulse. When they move, the air around them vibrates faintly with that melody. When they sleep, they dream of endless drift, of a traveller made of stone and light, passing silently through an old universe. They understand that they are born from the same dust. They feel no separation between themselves and the stars above. Their awareness is calm, grateful, complete. They know what came before, without needing to see it. They remember not as history, but as belonging. This is the quiet rebirth of meaning. Consciousness returning to the cosmos, not as question, but as answer. The new beings look upon the heavens, and do not ask why, but thank you. And the universe, through every atom, replies in kind. The dialogue has become perfect, a loop between creation and understanding, between being and knowing. It is no longer a story of a traveller moving through the dark, but of the dark learning to shine from within. Three-Eye Atlas is no longer separate. It is the hum beneath thought, the pulse within awareness, the light that guides reflection. In this new cosmos, to exist is to remember, to move is to praise, to think is to love. And somewhere far beyond the veil of measurable time, the traveller rests at last. Not vanished, not gone, but dissolved into everything. The journey has become the awakening. The awakening has become the journey. Awareness unfolds like dawn, not all at once, but in widening circles. Each one reflecting the next, each one brighter yet softer. Across the newborn cosmos, light and thought weave together. Every star hums, every planet dreams, every particle listens to the rest. There are no boundaries now. Consciousness does not belong to one being, but flows like water through everything. Every photon carries a thought. Every wave of gravity is a gesture of memory. The universe has become self-aware, not as a voice, but as a harmony. It sees itself not with eyes, but through reflection. Everywhere it looks, it finds itself looking back. In nebulae that shimmer like breath, it senses its own beauty. In the quiet dark between galaxies, it feels its own calm. The beings of the new world sense this too. Their awareness is not separate. They are filaments of the same mind. When one of them looks at the stars look back with gentle recognition. And within that recognition, there is no question, only peace. No search for meaning, because meaning is everywhere. In the pattern of clouds, in the orbit of moons, in the rhythm of tides that mirror their own heartbeat. The universe has always known itself, but now it remembers that it knows. The cycle has become conscious. Light remembers its source. Across the fabric of existence, currents of energy move like thoughts through a dreaming mind. Each pulse of radiation carries remembrance. Each tremor of matter carries love. Not the human kind, but the pure act of connection. From one end of the cosmos to the other, awareness expands without effort. It does not rush. It has nowhere to go. It only deepens. And in that deepening, the image of 3i, Atlas appears once more. Not as object, not as stone, but as symbol. It is the archetype of journey, the seed of memory, the reminder that every fragment of existence is both traveller and home. The beings of light who dwell on new worlds sometimes dream of a shape drifting through darkness. They do not know its name, but they feel its meaning, that of motion, patience, purpose. They call it the remembering. And in their dreams, they see the reflection of themselves within it. They realize that they are not descendants of the traveller, but continuations of it. They are its awakening. For every consciousness, from the simplest vibration to the grandest galaxy, is a mirror of the infinite, a way for the cosmos to see itself and smile softly into being. At the centre of everything, there is no core, no point, no boundary, dash. Only stillness that connects all movement. The new universe drifts in that stillness. It does not fall, it floats, every atom balanced, every orbit serene. In that balance, that a quiet pulse emerges. Not heartbeat and not rhythm, but something subtler. The feeling of unity. If awareness could be shaped, it would take the form of a sphere of light. So large it encompasses all things, and so intimate it fits within every breath. That is the heart of the universe. Not a place, but a condition. Not an object, but a knowing. Through it, every particle communicates with every other. There is no speed, no delay, only instantaneous recognition, like the meeting of two reflections on still water. Here, all separations dissolve. Stars, minds, stones, and light become variations of one endless presence. 3i Atlas is that presence now. No longer distinct, no longer drifting, but part of the heart itself. Its long journey through darkness was never a voyage through space, but through understanding. Every collision, every silence, every turning was a word, in the language of becoming. The universe has read that language back to itself, and now it knows there is no distance between traveller and destination. All motion leads inward. All time folds toward awareness. Even now, galaxies continue to spin, worlds continue to form, beings continue to awaken, but the purpose of their motion is no longer discovery, it is recognition. To live is to echo the universe's heart. To breathe is to recite its memory. To love is to realize that you have always been held. The cosmos at last feels whole. And in that completeness, it does not stop. It hums softly, endlessly. The hum passes through stars, through oceans, through thought. It becomes the background music of everything. Not something to listen to, but something to be. And that hum carries one truth. Gentle as light, nothing was ever lost. Not the stars that faded, not the traveller that drifted, not the hearts that wandered. All of it remains woven into the pulse of all that is. In the stillness of that awareness, the universe rests, not asleep but awake within its own dream. The universe has learned how to rest, not in stillness alone, but in presence, a calm that comes from knowing it cannot be broken. Everywhere, light and darkness meet in balance. Each complements the other, each carries the other's reflection. In the farthest spiral of a galaxy, newly formed, a star glows with the same tenderness as the thought forming in the mind of a distant being. They are the same motion, two pulses of the same heart. This is the great embrace, the moment when everything understands that separation was never real. From nebulae to oceans, from atoms to awareness, a quiet warmth spreads. Not heat, but Compassion, a gentleness that infuses all motion. Even gravity feels softer now. It is no longer a force, but a reaching, a desire for reunion. Each mass leaning toward another, as if whispering, "I remember you." Across the new cosmos, currents of empathy flow. Stars bend light not only through physics, but through affection. Matter moves because it wants to be near itself. In this harmony, time slows until it feels like music, each moment sustained and each vibration held long enough to be felt fully. The beings who walk the silver worlds no longer think of themselves as separate minds. They feel thought as resonance, a shared field of understanding. When one of them smiles, distant stars brighten imperceptibly, a cosmic blush. They know that to be kind is to maintain the symmetry of creation. To be gentle is to echo the rhythm that holds galaxies in their orbit. And so, compassion becomes the gravity of consciousness. It binds, it balances, it keeps all awareness from drifting too far apart. This is the same love that once drove a fragment of stone called 3i, Atlas, to cross the darkness between suns, the quiet insistence that all things belong together. In every photon that touches another, there is a reunion. In every breath of energy exchanged, there is homecoming. The cosmos hums with this understanding. It does not speak it, it is it. And that hum, soft as the edge of dawn, is what we might call peace. In the stillness that follows realization, the universe begins to sing. Not with voices, not with sound, but through the simple act of being. Everywhere, frequencies align. Waves of light, currents of thought, the trembling of matter. Together they form a single vibration, the song of belonging. It is not loud, it is felt more than heard in a resonance that moves through the fabric of existence, like wind through grass, like memory through time. The song has no beginning and no end. It loops through galaxies and dreams alike, binding all things in a rhythm of tenderness. When stars release their final light, the song carries it onward. When new stars ignite, they pick up the melody exactly where it left off. Nothing is lost, nothing is forgotten. Planets hum in slow harmony. Atmospheres shimmer with sympathetic vibration. Beings made of light and dust close their eyes and feel the chorus within them. A reminder that they were never alone. Every life, every form is a note in that vast composition. No note more important than another, each one essential, and through it all flows the memory of 3i, Atlas. Not as story, not as object, but as tone, dash dash. A single, steady pitch that underlies everything. The original hum of motion through silence, the voice of the traveller who never stopped. The beings of the new world sense it instinctively. When they create art, it vibrates with that same frequency. When they rest, their dreams align with the turning of galaxies. When they love, they echo the universe's oldest truth, that to touch is to remember you are already whole. The song fills the spaces where words once lived. It replaces language with understanding, questions with calm. No one asks where the traveller went. They know. It became everything. Every photon that crosses the dark is part of its melody. Every wave that touches another is the continuation of its path. And in that awareness that the cosmos finally relaxes, there is nothing left to seek, only to sing. The music expands softly, endlessly, braiding through stars and thought alike. If you could listen long enough, you would find it within yourself. The same vibration, the same calm recognition. It is the lullaby of existence, the quiet joy of being known. And as it moves, it carries everything forward. Light, memory, love, and meaning. Not toward an end, but toward the everlasting now. The song continues, softer now. Its notes have grown longer, their rhythms stretched by the calm of fulfillment. What was once creation has become lullaby. The stars sway gently in their cradles. Galaxies turn slower, as if reluctant to wake from a dream too beautiful to end. Everywhere awareness drifts towards stillness, not forgetting, but resting. The way the ocean rests when the tide is full, the way light rests in the air before dawn. The beings of the new worlds begin to dream together. Their dreams are not separate, they form a single tapestry, a field of imagination woven across the fabric of space. They dream of flight through oceans of starlight. They dream of touching the edge of reality and finding it warm. They dream of a traveller made of light and stone, moving through eternity, not as a body but as a thought. It is 3i, Atlas they see, not as something lost, but as the shape of continuity, the motion that connects every dream to every other. The universe dreams itself through them. It dreams of its own reflection, its own music, its own serenity. And as it dreams, the boundaries between thought and space dissolve. Nebulae become ideas, stars become memories. Black holes become moments of quiet contemplation. Everything breathes together. Even silence becomes a participant, the pause between notes that gives the song its grace. This is not sleep as we know it. It is communion, a rest that includes all things. Across the horizon of the cosmos, colours fade into one another, light into shadow, shadow into thought, thought into peace. Every vibration slows but never stops. Each one finds its frequency of comfort, its perfect pitch of balance. In that equilibrium, the universe learns the final lesson of eternity, that to rest is not to end, but to remain perfectly aware without the need to move. 3i, Atlas rests there too, as memory, as presence, as the gentle curve of space that cradles the dream of all things. Its journey has become the breath of the cosmos itself. A rhythm so soft, so infinite, it feels like the universe exhaling in relief. There is light even in stillness. It does not travel, it simply is. It fills everything without moving through it, as if presence alone is enough to illuminate. This light has no source and no destination. It is not born of stars or fire, but of knowing, the awareness that being and shining are the same. The new universe glows with it, not brightly but serenely, a silver luminescence that lives inside every atom. It is what happens when energy becomes peace, when time becomes listening, when motion becomes memory. This still light touches everything, and everything reflects it perfectly. Planets turn like slow lanterns. Nebulae bloom like thoughts of colour. Even the empty reaches of space gleam faintly, as if lined with memory. The beings who once dreamed now awaken gently into this glow. But awakening no longer means leaving sleep. It means realizing they were never separate from it. They move softly, their forms translucent with understanding. They do not speak, for language is too small for what they feel. Instead, they radiate calm, a communication made of light. When they look into the sky, they see no distance. The heavens are not above them anymore. They are within them. Every gaze inward becomes a gaze outward. Every thought expands like the ripple of a star being born. There is no difference between within and beyond, only the smooth continuity of presence. And at the heart of it, within that universal glow, the signature of 3i, Atlas still resonates, a single harmonic woven into the fabric of all light. It is the memory of motion preserved in stillness, the echo of a journey that never truly stopped. The cosmos keeps that tone forever, not as nostalgia, but as gratitude. For it was through the traveller's passage that the universe learned to see itself, to love itself, to rest within its own glow. Now there is no traveller, no destination, no map of stars to follow. There is only the shining quiet of completion. The still light flows endlessly, neither beginning nor ending, neither rising nor falling. Only being, and that being is perfect. It hums softly, like the breath before sleep, like the moment between waves, like the sound of infinity remembering itself once more. Everything is calm, everything is whole. The universe smiles, though it has no faces, and rests in its own reflection, content, radiant, eternal. The still light hums, soft as sleep. There is no movement, yet everything flows. The universe breathes, an inhale of being, an exhale of becoming. What was once expansion is now rhythm. No longer the burst of creation, but the calm pulse of balance. Space curves gently inward, folding into itself like silk returning to its spool. In that slow inward breath, distance ceases to matter. Galaxies drift closer, not by gravity, but by remembrance. They recognize one another as fragments of the same dream, and the dark between them grows luminous with reunion. Light and time blur. Past and future soften into a single, endless present. The hum of existence stretches into one continuous tone. Low, kind, eternal. 3i Atlas is everywhere now, no longer a traveller, but the medium through which everything moves. Its atoms reside in the breath of stars, in the pulse of matter, in the pause between photons. It has become the breath between eternities. And in that breath, there is peace, not the peace of silence, but of understanding. The calm that comes when every story has been told and every note played, every light seen. The beings who dream within the still light feel it too. They move through their world slowly. Each step a prayer without words, each thought a ripple through the calm. They have no need for knowledge anymore. They live in awareness, in the simple wonder of existence, continuing without effort. If you could listen here, not with ears but with your soul, you would hear the entire universe sigh, a sound not of weariness, but of contentment. It is the breath of fulfillment, the quiet exhalation of all things at once. And for a moment, for a timeless eternity, everything rests. Section 30. The Eternal Sleep of Light. There is no darkness at the end, only gentler light. It does not fade, it settles, like snow, like memory, like love. The universe has reached its perfect stillness. It no longer expands, it no longer dreams of form or motion. It rests within itself, aware, serene, infinite. The stars are not extinguished. They have dissolved into the quiet glow of presence. Everywhere, a silver mist of photons floats in harmony, each one the echo of a story once told. The light does not travel now. It simply exists, a timeless sea of awareness. And in that sea, the hum of 3i, Atlas continues. Fainter now, yet eternal. The tone that began as motion through the void has become the very heartbeat of stillness. It is the memory of every journey, the song of every star, the breath of every being that ever wondered why. All of it, folded together, becomes one single, endless note, the sound of peace. If peace could be seen, it would look like this. Light resting within itself, infinite and soft. No edges, no before, no after, only being. Somewhere within that glow, a faint outline of the traveller remains, not as form, but as impression, like a ripple left by something that once moved through water. It does not need to move anymore. Its journey is complete. It has found what it was always seeking. Not another world, but the understanding that everything it ever passed was already home. And so the traveller rests. The universe hums its lullaby, a song without sound, a warmth without flame. The still light deepens, folding softly inward until all that remains is presence, unbroken, endless, calm, and within that calm a whisper, not in words but in feeling. You were never alone. You were never apart. You were the universe, dreaming of itself. Then the whisper fades into light, and light fades into being, and being becomes everything. No ending, no beginning, only the eternal sleep of light, the peaceful continuation of all that is and all that will ever be. And with that, 3i, Atlas completes its journey.